I did find it interesting how they treated the Mountain West Conference, Annie. I mean, the Mountain West Conference we talked about all season was, one of the best conferences in college basketball. They gave them the recognition of getting 6 teams in the tournament, but they did not give them the recognition of seeding. So they thought they were good enough to get 6 teams in, but they did not give anybody relatively good seeds in the NCAA tournament. They gave Utah State an 8. I mean, Utah State won the conference of a 6-bid league, and they got an 8 seed going against the Big 12 school, and obviously my alma mater, that comes from the best conference in college basketball. Yeah, not really any favors for Utah State. And that was even the biggest gripe. I mean, New Mexico wins the tournament. If they didn't win the tournament, they'd probably be out right now. I thought for sure them making the semis was going to get them in. But obviously the committee thought differently about New Mexico. They give them an 11 seed. I think a potential matchup with Baylor in the next round might be pretty good. They do get the benefit of playing in the West. The biggest slap in the face is Nevada getting a 10 seed and Boise State having to play in the first 4. Boise State swept San Diego State this year. They've had a great season. They finished in the top 3 of the Mountain West Conference, and they have to play a play-in game to get into the tournament, as well as Colorado State. So good news, the committee thought the Mountain West was good enough to get 6 teams. The bad news, they really hosed them on seeds.
Right. I want to get to that a little bit. I want to talk about the Mountain West in general and overall thoughts more about the seeding. But in terms of proximity, I'm a little confused because I feel like this was a good thing for them. Like they're not having to fly across the country. They're staying, relatively 2 hours and 45 minutes, 3-hour flight. It seemed like the players were happy about that.
Oh, being in Spokane?
Being in Spokane.
They were going to be
Gonzaga.
They were going to be in Spokane or Salt Lake City in the first round regardless.
Okay,
because they were good enough to, as a 5 or a 6, so they were going to be a little bit closer to home in the first round. But, to be, I mean, if they were a 6 in the West, they probably could have got Salt Lake or, even, Memphis kind of would have sucked. But, I would rather be, I always like, when you're looking at your teams, if you're good enough and you got a high enough, if you're in a top 1 through 6 seeds, more time, especially with the lack of West Coast teams, usually that first round, you're going to be playing somewhere close to home. And then it's the Sweet 16 that you really care about, because flying from San Diego to Boston to take on the best team in the tournament is, I mean, that's almost an impossible task, where you could have been playing, at Staples Center or whatever it's called now, Crypto.com Arena. You're playing in Los Angeles, or, worst case, you'd be playing in Dallas, which is not that far of a flight either, against a team like Houston or maybe Tennessee or, whoever it may have been. If you were in the South region too, like a Marquette, I think you get the edge in that too. But I prefer to be, in spots where if I make the Sweet 16, I have the host site advantage, because I know in the first round, I'm already going to be playing somewhere close.
Braden, your thoughts in the few minutes we have left here, just on the Mountain West in general and the way that they were seeded into this tournament.
Yeah, I mentioned before a little bit. I think Boise State got ripped off. You're not going to see any tears out of me with Boise State getting ripped off, but they got hosed in their seeding, having to play in the first 4. I think the fact that the Mountain West has 2 teams that have to play in the first 4 is kind of a joke. It's one of those situations where, like, hey, look, we got you 6 teams in. But the one that really jacked everybody up was, I guess, New Mexico was not part of the bracket on Saturday night. And with New Mexico winning, they had to redo their bracket all into the morning. This is what the head chair of the NCAA tournament said. So that really put a loop through things. That really got a 6th team in to the tournament for the Mountain West Conference. But overall seeding, I mean, the team that won the conference got an 8 seed. AP poll came out today. Utah State's ranked 20th in the country, according to the AP poll. Now, I think those guys are a bunch of win socks, but, they're an 8 seed. I mean, they got ranked 30-something in the tournament, and they're 20th in the AP poll. Something's wrong here.
Right.
And I think what really played out with this, I think San Diego State, and now Aztec fans, applaud of what the program has been. San Diego State as a program is so well respected that despite them finishing 5th in the Mountain West, they got a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament because of the run that they went on last year, because of their non-conference play, giving the Aztecs the benefit of the doubt, with who they scheduled, how they did in those games, and it really was the deciding factor in that conference, because a conference that was really good but not necessarily, I guess, as good in the non-con as San Diego State. I mean, the Mountain West had some pretty good wins outside of Mountain West play, but the Aztecs getting the 5 just shows the respect that the committee has for San Diego State. Now, all the other teams, I think it goes into the Mountain West Conference hasn't won a game aside from San Diego State in the NCAA tournament, and that's basically what you saw out of the Mountain West. Just other overall observations. Non-conference play played a big role in some of these schools, in conferences that weren't rated as high. The Big 12 got the benefit of the doubt for being a really good conference. They didn't play anybody in the non-con, but they got knocked down a couple of notches when it comes to their overall seeds. I'm surprised they got 8 in instead of 9. I thought Oklahoma was going to make it, but they didn't really play that difficult to schedule. The real thing that I thought was interesting is the Big East only got 3 schools in to the NCAA tournament. I think St. John's was way better than Virginia. I think Virginia being in is a joke. I don't know what the committee saw in them. I thought FAU getting an 8 seed was a joke. That is way too high for a team with 2 quad 4 losses. And then there's one other team that got in that was utterly ridiculous, and I'm blanking on it right now. But St. John's got hosed. I think Indiana State should have probably been in the NCAA tournament as well. I know you're splitting hairs down the stretch, but it's going to be a fun. Oh, Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State has no business being in the NCAA tournament. They have the long streak, and Tom Izzo's their coach. Yada yada yada. But Michigan State at 19-14 doesn't deserve to be in the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. But it should be a fun bracket. I said it for the last couple of months. There's no one real dominant team in the NCAA tournament that you're afraid of, that you don't want to draw. And this is going to be the most parity tournament I think we've seen in a very long time. And last year was a lot of parity as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I know we're going to talk more about it throughout the week. And I know we went a little late, but this is going to be a fun bracket. And I can't wait for it to tip off on Thursday.
It really is. Good luck with those brackets, everyone, as you're filling them out in your place of work, because they are going to get blown up rather quickly.